On your mark. I gotta say, this thing always looks like mud spray. On your mark. Get set.
Welcome to the West Wing Week, your guide to everything that's happening at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This week, the President nominated Sylvia Burwell as Secretary of Health and Human Services, hosted an Easter prayer breakfast and a Passover Seder, discussed immigration reform with faith leaders, welcomed the Wounded Warrior Soldier Ride, announced a major milestone in the continued implementation of the Affordable Care Act, and hit the road to New York City and Oakdale, Pennsylvania. That's April 11th to April 17th, or pull together, fight back, and win.
America's got a choice to make. We can do nothing, which is the strategy that some folks in Washington seem to have, or we can do what we've always done best. We pull together, we fight back, and we win.
Spring was in full bloom on Friday as the President and Vice President stepped out to the Rose Garden to announce the nomination of Sylvia Burwell to succeed Kathleen Sebelius as the next Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Here, as my budget director at the White House, she's already delivered results. After all, in the years since she arrived, the deficit has plunged by more than $400 billion, I'm just saying.
Later that day, the President traveled to New York City and gave the keynote address at the 16th Annual National Action Network Convention.
Thank you, God bless you.
On Monday, the President hosted an Easter prayer breakfast where he took a moment to reflect on the tragic shootings in Overland Park, Kansas.
As Americans, we not only need to open our hearts to the families of the victims, we've got to stand united against this kind of terrible violence which has no place in our society. And we have to keep coming together across faiths to combat the ignorance and intolerance, including anti-Semitism, that can lead to hatred and to violence.
Later, he welcomed recipients of the Presidential Early Career Award for scientists and engineers.
I always love having a chance to say hello to all these outstanding young innovators and engineers and people who are going to help drive our economy for many years to come. I'm especially thrilled that this is such a diverse group. I like all these women. Way to go. I mean, guys, you're fine too.
He then took a moment to congratulate each of the 102 recipients. Meanwhile, in Bethesda, the First Lady visited the Fisher House, located at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. She participated in an early Easter celebration with military families and children.
Okay, you guys got this. You got it. I would imagine that you would not. Memory card change?
On Tuesday, the President welcomed faith leaders to the Oval Office to discuss the importance of taking action to pass common-sense immigration reform, before being joined by senior White House staff in holding a moment of silence to mark the one-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. That evening, the President hosted a Passover Seder in the Old Family Dining Room of the White House. On Wednesday, the President engaged in a triannual tradition, the group photo with the current class of White House interns. After the photo, he took questions and even shared a bit of advice that had been passed to him along the way.
If you are going to run for something, make sure that you are running to do something as opposed to be something. The people I know who are successful and happy and fulfilled are folks who there's something they want to do as opposed to there's something they want to be.
Later, the President traveled to Oakdale, Pennsylvania, where he was joined by the Vice President at the Community College of Allegheny County West Hills Center. After checking out the machines and motors in the college's mechatronics program, the President spoke on the importance of expanding jobs-driven skills training in the 21st century.
We saw firsthand everything that you are doing to train more workers for new jobs and better jobs. Jobs companies need to keep growing. And what we want to do is we want to replicate your model across the country. You're doing something right that is making a difference in people's lives, and we want to spread the word.
On Thursday morning, the President and the Vice President welcomed the Wounded Warrior Soldier Ride back to the White House. Later that afternoon, the President took to the briefing room for an important announcement.
The bottom line is, under the Affordable Care Act, the number of Americans who've signed up for private insurance in the marketplaces has grown to 8 million people. 35% of people who enrolled through the federal marketplace are under the age of 35. This thing is working.
Meanwhile, across town, the First Lady was at Howard University for a tour and roundtable discussion with students highlighting the President's North Star goal, that by 2020, America will once again have the highest proportion of college graduates in the world.
So now it's up to you all to take that baton and do the very best you can with it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be here with all of you, because this transition for some of you may be a little scary, all right?
As always, stay engaged online, and remember, you can find out more information about any of these topics or see complete videos of these events at whitehouse.gov. And thanks again for checking out your West Wing Week.
You know, the only problem, though, is I always thought that sort of the whole engineering